What's on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful day. Over the weekend, there was a bit of a Twitter storm. I think I just spit at the camera. Sorry about that. That was not intended for you, my wonderful viewer. I love you all. By the way, I hope you'll tune in tonight, 5:30 Eastern, whether you watch on YouTube or on Rumble. The links will be in the pinned comment. Lots to talk about from Tucker Carlson's appearance on Joe Rogan and the conversations that seemingly sparked from there. So, in one segment of Joe Rogan's interview with Tucker Carlson, which many believe was suppressed on YouTube, but I will say there is something weird, wonky going on with YouTube right now that, I'm not totally sure. Now, Mondays for me are usually kind of low viewership days, so it's hard to say for sure, but there's something weird going on with YouTube. Rumble's doing great, though. Hope you're watching there. But people post this where Tucker Carlson has a conversation on or a thought, a take on the United States decision to use atomic bombs against Japan. Not one, but two. Tucker Carlson says, my side has spent the last 80 years defending dropping atomic bombs on civilians. Like, are you joking? If you find yourself arguing that that's a good thing to do that, then I think you're evil. Now, this video isn't to discuss whether or not it was a good thing, because, I think it's hard to look back with today's morality standards, the decisions, obviously everything we know now in hindsight, and to not be, it's tough. It's obviously very, very, very complicated. The idea of knowing that you're going to have a high level of civilians affected by things, that's not good. I think something can, though, here's how I look at it. And I guess we're going to discuss it. I think Sticks, Hexenhammer and I will be on Wednesdays. As far as I view it, based on what I currently understand, and I'm open to be educated more, I think something can both be evil and necessary. And that's kind of how I view it. But again, I could be completely wrong about that. But this is what then sparks Jeremy Boring, the CEO, to respond to Tucker Carlson, basically, writing, people who deny the moon landing or suggest America's evil for its use of atomic weapons against Imperial Japan, or who say that George Bush was behind 9/11, actually hate this country. People did not like that. I think that questioning your government is entirely patriotic. It makes, I think that maybe he just didn't word this correctly. He didn't word it very well. I don't know. But obviously you see, remember when you said the exact opposite in an X space that you tweeted a few months prior about Candace?
But the Daily Wire is a publication, right? We publish, we curate. I pay people to speak. I'm not just a platform where everybody can kind of build their own account and say the things that they want to say. I pay people, and I'm not going to pay people to say things that go beyond certain lines of what I believe. Why would I do that?
Just a few months ago, the CEO of Daily Wire, who just said that, said, in my current capacity, I cannot fire Candace Owens. That's something Ben and I have in common, since he is also not an executive in the company and cannot hire or fire people. But even if we could, we would not fire Candace because of a...
That doesn't seem to be an own about this. I think questioning your government is particularly patriotic. I think I don't know if that's what he meant. That's how people took it, and perception is reality. You can see Iraq war veteran here. Jimmy Cressetti says, I have questions about the Seventh Tower. If you question your government, you hate your country. Lauren Chen. Luke Rudkowski, blind belief in authority is the greatest enemy of truth. Albert Einstein. Melanie Mack in there. This is a jab to take. It's interesting. I don't know why. He's clearly like subtweeting Tucker Carlson. Then people, of course, bringing up Jeremy Boring saying, get the jab. I'm partial to the Janssen jab. I don't know what that, maybe that means Johnson, but a typo. Because it's less novel, get that. And then, of course, Ben Shapiro writing why a war in Iraq is right for America, and then Ben Shapiro saying, in other words, get the jab. So a lot of their previous comments are coming up to kind of rear their ugly head. I'm curious what you think is going on here. Why all the sudden hot takes, like these neocon takes? You can see a tweet from, I thought, Clint Russell, good tweet from him. The best part about the Shapiro boring Daily Wire implosion is that they're just repeating 2004 talking points, and they are somehow completely stunned that their audience is rejecting it. They somehow have no clue that their listeners actually remember the lessons from the war on terror. And you see someone then replies, and there it is. Jeremy and the Daily Wire, this is Jeremy Boring, not me, just insulted the core of their base, who ardently believe that doing terrible things with, nukes is immoral, and that, something perhaps was an inside job. I don't know what I believe about everything that happened on that day, but here's what I'll tell you. One thing I will agree with others on is that, why are all these documents still classified? And perhaps if they weren't covering anything up, then declassify them so then we can, understand, where you're at. Maybe there's nothing weird about that third one that fell. Maybe, but there's that where you leave questions. That's where, quote unquote, various theories come about. You see, so then Jeremy quote tweets this person and says, wait, you believe the core of the Daily Wire audience believe America was the bad guy in WW2? That's not what this individual said. I think what this individual is saying is that he didn't support the dropping of atomic weaponry. Now, I think that there's a lot of arguments on both sides, and I still, I'm open to being educated on that decision, but what I do know is that it did end that war, and it clearly provided a very real deterrent for many, many, many years to never act up again. Do I think 300 or 100,000 civilians needed to get vaporized for that? Boy, that's a tough question. You hope not. The argument that some people make is that in order to look at how many would have been lost in a prolonged conflict, the number would have been much higher, and then that's the justification. But I just think that the regular kind of like thought process around stuff doesn't really prepare us for thinking, what's worse, 100,000 Japanese humans being vaporized in the Christianity centers of Japan or whatever, or 80,000 Americans, or you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird thing. And then Jake Shields wants to know, because we don't think you have much of an audience left. Constantine comes in. Someone needs to do a study and measure the impact of being permanently online on IQ. I'd wager it's at least -10 to -15 points. Basically, nobody agreed with this. I don't think that having questions about perhaps what your entire, what your government's up to is bad. Patrick Bet-David getting involved, saying, Jeremy, isn't this the entire premise of being a critical thinker, to question things? Some of the best podcasters and influencers are those who ask questions no one else is asking. Being anti-establishment is to question the establishment's motive. Jimmy Corsetti writes, it's Jeremy's way of indirectly going after Tucker Carlson. See, that's what I thought too. Because he's jealous. Why else is he so out of touch? His comment is getting ratioed like crazy. The Daily Wire is collapsing in on itself like a dying star. I don't know. I have no idea if people are actually leaving the Daily Wire or not. I simply wrote, if you want us to believe the narrative about that day, then unclassify the documents. Many people agreed with me. Jeremy Boring thought I meant Jeremy Boring should declassify the documents, so he's like, I'll get right on that. No, I didn't mean that Jeremy Boring should unclassify the documents. I mean the government. It's weird. Then you see Matt Walsh, the decision to drop the atomic bomb was one of the most morally complex dilemmas that mankind has ever faced. And people who made that choice have had to weigh things that none of us can imagine. Millions of lives hanging in the balance. Ultimately, I think they made the right call, because it seems obvious to me that if not for that, Many more Americans would have died. War is brutal, terrible thing. But if you must do whatever's necessary to protect your own people, America first. Yeah, I would agree with that. It doesn't make it not an evil act, or it doesn't make it like okay. Heidi saying people who believe everything the government tells us actually hate this country. Dave Smith saying the Daily Wire head with a dumber, more dishonest take than anything I've ever heard out of the woke left. Evidently, if you think the government might lie to its people or question the morality of leaving kids with their skin falling off, that means you hate your country. That is a really, really, really weird take. Really, really, really weird take. Jordan Schatzel writes, Imperial Japan was led by a death cult with an ideology every bit as evil as the Nazis. It was either the bombs or sacrificing millions of Americans. Easy and moral call. I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, I don't just, when you talk about the civilians, right? We don't know. But I do think it's really weird. Like, he got mad at Tucker Carlson, then he picked like this, hey, don't question your government. It's a universal good. You see Ben Shapiro saying, no, America was not evil for doing this. And no, quote, just asking questions does not make you a critical thinker. Evaluating claims and counterclaims does. And of course, he's getting ratioed here as well. I don't know why they're choosing to die on this hill. It's very weird. Jeremy Boring says it's not critical to say that America never landed on the moon, or that, George W. Bush orchestrated, what happened on that day. It's a rejection of critical thinking. He forgot to say the third option, which he then said, the nuke part. I don't think that means you hate this country. I don't think I agree with that. I don't know what Jeremy's motive is. Maybe he's mad at Tucker Carlson. I don't know. But it seems really weird. It seems like Matt Walsh is doing the smart thing and just staying kind of ideologically consistent here. But it seems like a really weird hill to die on, at least to me. What do you think? And what do you think is going on with the Daily Wire? Are they just trying to reestablish themselves? Have they always been this way? Has a narrative just shifted online? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Remember to tune in tonight at 5:30 Eastern on YouTube and or Rumble. I'll leave the links in the pinned comment down below. We'll talk to you again real soon.